Hi everyone, my name is Ibrahim. I'm one of the doctors working in the NHS. In this video today, we're going to explain NHS Payslip for doctors.
If this is the first time you're checking out our channel, welcome. Basically what we do is we run a website that's totally free known as roadtok.com, and it will explain the ins and outs about everything related to the United Kingdom and what it takes for you to work as a doctor in the NHS. So if you've not already, please stalk us on all of our social media. Find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter, Instagram, and of course, YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe.
In my previous video, which can be found in the top corners, you will find that I have explained a detail about the pay structure of doctors in the UK, like what is the nodal point, what are the basic pay structure, and how can you calculate the different like take-home salary and all those stuff. But in this video, I would like to focus mainly on what is in the payslip when you get paid and how to make sure that you're getting paid correctly. Let's get started. The first question is, how do you get your payslip? So there could be two ways your trust decides to give you the payslip. One, obviously, is always in there on your electronic staff record. You should get your ESR login from the HR department when you start the job, and everything related to your job and HR would be in your electronic staff record, or your payslips, all your other tax information papers like P60 form, which summarizes the tax paid in a year, which is very important. You should obviously keep a record of it if you change jobs. So if you change jobs, sometimes the ESR get refreshed. So if you don't have all your payslip or at least the P60 form, make sure that you know your login to your electronic staff record ESR system and download them and keep them secured. Otherwise, the trust may also give you some sort of this, which is like a paper payslip, and it would be posted to your department monthly, and it basically looks like this. So the ESR payslip is like a soft copy of this as well. So let's jump into how the payslip looks like. So this is how the payslip looks like when zoomed in. I will first start explaining the different portions of the payslip, and then we'll go into more detail. So as you can see, the first portion would be the assignment number, where you will have the number which denotes that your employment within the organization, the trust, obviously your name, which hospital you'll be working at, and which department, and job title and pay scale description, which is like to give in your work schedule, which will come into later on, and explain what kind of level you're working at. And here it will be mentioned your basic salary, at what grade you're working. It does not include the additional hours or even the enhancement that will be added on. It just includes the basic salary. Incremental date, I'm not working permanently in this salary, so I don't have any incremental date. Standard hours is 40 hours a week, and you see this again is the salary or wage. And this information of this entire row is basically your tax and national insurance information and your tax code. These are the things are really important to note, because you will need this tax office reference when you want to claim your tax back for your professional subscriptions and all the other things that you can claim. And you need your tax code. If the tax code is right, then you don't have to think about how much tax it got deducted. But if the tax code is wrong, that means the tax would be deducted wrong. And obviously you have to make sure that your national insurance number is your national insurance number, which is correct based on what is in your BRP. So let's go into detail about what are the things in this pay and allowances. So as you can see, the different description and how much you have worked or earned, how much is getting paid, and what is the rate against the hours. So this is 173.81 is basically hours, and 28.24, these are hours, and this is the rate, how many hours, how much money you're getting paid per hour, and multiplying these two gets into this amount. So this is the basic pay, which is relevant to the nodal pay point that you are on according to your grade. So basically it according to this amount, you're getting the basic pay if you work in a work. So if you were working a 9 to 5 job the basic hours with no additional roster hours or no weekend or no night duty or anything of that sort, that means you will just have basic pay on your payslip right here. But if you do on calls and if you have weekend jobs according to a rota or schedule, you definitely have to have some more description and you have to get paid for those extra hours, which will not be included on your basic pay. So as you say, it's additional roster hours, which is any additional contracted hours that you do more than the standard 40 hours a week. Sometimes you do on-calls, which actually on-call shifts, a 12-hour shift or 12.5-hour shift, which on an accumulated basis in a in a rotation, it's calculated that you work some additional hours and you get paid for that additional hours as well, which can be, according to European Working Hour Time Directive, highest 48. So you can work in a week highest 48 hours. For those extra 8 hours, if it's 8 hours, then you'll get paid extra in a week. And this is the night duty. Any hours receiving enhanced rate at 37% rate on your night duty, you'll get paid, which actually starts between 9 to 7 o'clock. So 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. Any hours you do, you will get an enhanced of 37%. And obviously weekend 1 in 4 or 1 in 5. So it actually calculates how frequently you do weekends. So if you do more frequently, if it's 1 in 2, 1 in 3, obviously you get paid more here. If you do less frequently, 1 in 7, 1 in 8, then you paid less here. So these are all in the pay analysis. There could be something more if you work in some specialties like general practice, psychiatry, and some other specialties. There will be some flexible pay premia, which will be some added here as well. If you do on-call availability, if you do non-resident on-call, you'll get paid for that as well a bit separately, which is not in because I don't work as non-resident on-call. And if you have some other cash flow protection, I don't think, which probably does not apply for a lot of doctors, but those are the things would be explained in your pay and allowances. Now let's move on to what are the deductions. So in deductions, you can see here R indicates refund. So if it's payee and there is a space then R, that means they are refunding you the tax. Sometimes it happens, especially when you start working in the NHS, you will see that your tax code is not adjusted. I'll explain a bit more about tax code in a second, but you can get taxed more initially and then they refund you. So R means actually adding, they're refunding you. So payee stands for pay as you earn. So this is an automated system by HMRC, the government, which makes the whole thing and they deduct the tax according to your tax code. So if your tax code is correct, that means the payee would be correct. I mean, that's like a calculator thing. There is no calculation for that, but it's automatic. But if your tax code is correct, that means your payee will be correct, and NIA, which is a national insurance, would be correct as well. So A is all, I think for doctors is letter is A, and you see I also have NHS pension, which also get deducted. So these are the deductions that happen from the total, and I get paid less. But how are these calculated? So the pension, if you go down here, as you can see, the pensionable pay is, this is year-to-date balances. So in this employment, how much is the gross pay and how much is the taxable pay is there. I don't think it's that important, but you just have to just understanding the whole thing, what is happening here. So the pensionable pay, you see this amount. So in this month, the only pensionable amount is basically my basic pay. So all these additional hours that I'm doing, these are not going into my pension contribution. And this pensionable pay is based on at what level are you on, and this pension contribution get deducted from the overall amount, which is this. This comes off from adding all of this, and the pension gets deducted from this, and this becomes the taxable pay. So you don't pay taxes on the pension contribution. So you can have some of the things which could be deducted before the tax is calculated. I remember I used to pay for because I used to stay in hospital accommodation in my first job, and that was tax free. So I used to pay the amount of rent before I get calculated of the tax. So this pension gets deducted from the total payments, and the rest of the payment get taxed. So the pension contribution is not taxed. So basically, you see, these are all calculation. Total payments is all those payments, and minus the NHS pension becomes the taxable. Then they calculate the national insurance and pay as you earn, and this is the net pay that you get, which would reflect the same in your bank account. Now let's talk about how these different pay and allowances get calculated. Like, how do you know how much would be your additional rostered hours, how much would be your night duty and everything. So those all are explained in your work schedule. So if you don't have your work schedule, I implore you that you ask your HR that, can you send me my work schedule for the period of employment that I'm working with you guys. So they must have it, and because without this they cannot calculate your pay. So if you have your work schedule, then you can actually see how much you're supposed to work and how much you're actually getting paid for. So this is the work schedule for the rotation that I'm doing in gastroenterology. I've done already, and it says the dates of placement, where I'm supposed to pay. So the most important bit would be here. So you see the name of the rota and the working pattern is full shift. There are normal days, long days, night shifts and weekends, and I'll be a rota cycle of 18 weeks, which I'll show you later on how the rota cycle is like. Say, so your contract is a full-time contract for 40 hours. So you see, in addition to that, I will be also working 6 hours and 30 minutes. So as I said earlier, a few minutes ago, the additional work can be a maximum of 8 hours under the European Working Hour Time Directive. So in a week, so the thing is, in a month, probably you will not have that many on calls, but in the next month you'll have more on calls or nights, and in the next month you'll have less on calls. But this calculation, they actually divide it flattened over the period of your rotation. So they look at the rotation in an overall, say from that date to that date. So if you do this many on calls in this entire duration, so in a flattened per week basis, I'm working 6 hour 30 minute extra. That doesn't mean then the work the duty commencing, or the week commencing next week, I'll be working 6.5 hours, and the next week it's not even like that. But for the purpose of paying you, they even it out. So maybe in 1 week you'll be working, say 50-60 hours a week, because you'll do like 4 nights or 3 long days, but in the next week you'll give a day off. So they even it out. So, but the whole average is 6.5 hours on my, this rotation. So average weekly hours of basic hourly is 40, and this is the 37%. So I work 10.45 hours as unsocial weekly, and that will attract a 37% enhancement. That's basically night duty from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning. So as you can say, annual pay for the role is explained, but this annual pay is made on the basis of these 4 months. So if I move on to another placement where there's less doctors, and I do more long days, and I do more night shift, I do more weekends, for that 4 months, the annual pay will be calculated, will be higher. Like when I was in ICU, my annual pay was not this 51. It was as close as, I remember, 53 or 54, because I was doing more additional hours, and also I was doing more weekend. So if you know this, you basically know what's your actual income after doing all these enhancements is for that duration of your rota. So this is explained well in your work schedule. Now this is actually the rota that you get from your employer, and which actually it's with the calculation done so that it follows the 2016 contract of junior doctors. So as you can see, everything is passed, like minimum period off, maximum on-call frequency, maximum on-call length, and everything, and then it calculated the whole calculation that I showed you earlier. This is HR's job to pass a rota through this whatever system, and they tell you that it's according to the contract that has been paid. You can also use BMA's rota calculator to see whether actually passed the contract. But if you have this, that means they have done this for you and they have given you this whole thing. And you can see this is the working arrangement that I got before even starting this rotation. So I know I have total 18 weeks of rolling rota. The rolling rota can be 7 weeks, 8 weeks, depending on how many people are on this rota and how the rota is structured based on your hospital and the working force working in the hospital. So it's basically the work of rota management and HR. But they should give you this kind of rotation so you know how your working hours are like. So as you can see, there are 4 types of days here. One is normal working day. I think one is take and night and cover. So the take shift starts from 9 to 10, and the night starts from 9:30 to 10 o'clock in the morning, and cover starts from 9 to 10 as well. So by looking at it, you know, you probably will be like, okay, so you start from week 7. Say week 7 would be, and this is Monday, Tuesday. So if I start from say 4th of April, and 4th of April is Thursday, and I say that I start from week 7, so my 4th of April rotation would be I'll just work 9 to 5. So 9 to 5, then I have the weekend off, then I have a complete week of 9 to 5. So I know exactly what I'm going to do for the next 4 months if you just plot it in the rota pattern. So this is immensely helpful, because whenever I get this and I tell them which week I'm going to start on. So if they say, look, you'll be starting on week 12, then I know if I start from this date. So you can calculate and make your own schedule in your calendar, and you know which day you'll be working. And at the same time, this actually makes it whole transparent about how much the total salary and weekend allowance and everything. Lastly, I want to discuss a bit about the tax codes, because as I said, if you don't have the right tax code, that means you'll be paying the wrong amount of tax. So it's if you pay more tax, then if you don't get it corrected, then you will keep paying more tax, and once it gets corrected, then you will actually get all of this back as a refund, whatever tax you paid more. If you pay less tax, and once it gets discovered that you've been paying less tax, from that portion, then they will just deduct the amount that you haven't paid from your payee, which will be from either from the next employment or from this employment. So you will be able to get all of this from your personal tax account. So you can create a personal tax account from in a gov.uk website with your information that I said on your payslip, with your national insurance number and all the other stuff, and open a government gateway account. And with that, you can actually claim personal tax back. If you have some professional subscription that is based on your profession, and your company has not paid you back, like say for our GMC fees, or if you are on a medical trade union, or if you pay for Royal College of Physicians subscription fees, all those fees are professional subscription, and you can get a tax break. So you don't have to pay taxes if you pay those amounts. So that's how you see it. Normally the tax code for a normal payment will have a personal allowance included. So when you see the tax code says 1257L, L stands for that you have to have a personal allowance, and the amount of the personal allowance is 12,570. It's 1257L. So whatever your annual income is, 12,570 of that annual income will not be taxed, because you're allowed that as a personal allowance. So if you have some professional subscription that you have to pay for, it gets included in your personal allowance. And that's how you saw my tax code was a bit higher than the generic tax allowance. So including my professional allowances, my personal allowance became 12,810, and that's why my tax code was 1281L. So in a year, in a tax year, which starts from April to another April, if you have more expenses, like say if your GMC fees change from 100 to 406 or something, or if you start paying more subscription for your profession, so if you buy something like a stethoscope or your scrubs or anything, you can actually claim those expenses as tax free. So before April comes, it's like everybody does it. Before April comes, you sit down and you see what kind of money that you have spent on, in the previous year, and or which will be projected to the next year, or you've just paid it but you never got it paid back from your company, you can actually ask for tax paid on that amount. We have an extensive article how to claim tax relief on our website. Be sure to check it out to actually know the process how you can do that. Otherwise, what can actually see on your tax code that needs your highest attention and needs to be sorted out. So this website of say that everything is related that you have to know. So if it's 0T, it's normally the one that for a lot of new starters in the NHS. So 0T means you have been used up all your personals, but it could also mean that you've started a new job. So with 0T, you'll be actually paying a basic amount of tax, which does not include your personal allowance. So you'll be paying more tax. Also, if it's BR, that means will be taxed at a basic. So you'll have to make sure that none of this are present on your tax code. It has to be something like a generic 1257L is the tax code that is currently used for most people which have one job, which most of the IMGs will do. So if you know your tax code is right, that means you're actually paying the tax correctly. And if your tax code is wrong, you can actually call and contact HMRC regarding this. They have all the information up there, when and how. You can even chat with them, you can call them and talk to them about your tax code being wrong, and they will sure adjust it. And if you had paid more tax, they will refund it on your next payment. There you go. I've explained the payslip of NHS UK doctors and the different caveats of what can go wrong and what you should check. If you have any further questions, please ask us in the comments. We're always happy to answer. And if you have not already, please subscribe to our channel and turn the notification bell on so that you get notified when we're out with a new video. And also stalk us on our social media. Check us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and have a nice day.